we haven't talked about AI yet today, so it's obvious that my role is to talk about AI because everyone is talking about AI. But it won't be a technical talk, it will be storytelling, and this story starts in the late 80s. So imagine this, a kid that is obsessed with video game and is a passionate, and of course is dreaming about creating the video game like everyone in the 80s. And so started to think how to create and started to write in his bedroom because, well, you know, computer and video game are better friends than real people writing, and he doesn't know how to do it. So this is writing a short script describing what he wanted to do, and he thinks that is enough to do it. So how do I do? So, dear computer, I would like to implement a space shooter game with spaceship at the bottom, so. The game is 3D, and please make it nice. Then he buys a computer. His parents buys him a computer, started to learn this is not like to make the video game, so you need to use a programming language, complicated programming language. I don't know why ChatGPT decided that you can use COBOL to do the video game, but let's take it. And of course, this prompt doesn't work. But this creates some kind of spark in this guy that decided to start to go in that direction. So he went to university and, of course, computer science. So always thinking about that. But then, so he learned real programming languages, C, C++, Java, BASIC, and so on and so forth. But then, of course, life happens, requires you to do more serious things than creating video game. But then one day, not too long ago to be honest, there's a new tool. There are many new tools, but this in particular, and it uses again the same prompt if you check. So the computer would like to implement a space shooter game, so on and so forth. The second one, please make it nice. And in this time, this is what it does, which is, well, to me, this is magic. This is one shot by Claude 4 Opus last week. It's not perfect, but it was implemented by itself in 10 minutes or something like that. If this was implemented in the 80s, it would have been in the arcade and do a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, I've been done this 3 decades later. And then it looks like that we are, again, like at this cycle. So you start creating the prompt, your computer, please create a game, and then you do, okay, C++, 3D, Unity, shader, voxel, all this stuff. And then again, when you are master, you are back to prompting. So after this story, okay, my name is Giordano, but nobody called me Giordano apart from my wife sometime, and I know I'm in trouble when they call me like that. I work in New Day as a lead in a mobile team, but I won't talk about New Day because Manolis did a better job than I could do. We'll talk about AI, of course, and a bit of history of AI and the use where we are now. So while I was preparing this talk, material for this talk, I also stumbled upon that on my previous, very first app I've done, and then I realized that is almost my app anniversary. This is the first app I published. It was in 2009 in May. It was a really excited time, so I created the app. It was a magic app. So basically, you are talking to the app, asking how will go my interview. Oh, this girl will love me, and then you shake the phone, and the app will return some kind of predefined script. It was a really, really exciting time, and I was kind of happy to find out that in internet, I don't have the code for this app anymore. Of course, I changed the computer at least 20 times from this time. But there are still the review, so I like that it's kind of divisive. I have a couple of second star. My favorite one is gay, this is for little kids, or boring, this app is fake, don't download this app, fake app, switch to S or switch watch. I don't know what that, but was nice. And then a couple of months later, I created this app. I was kind of surprised with the quality of the graphic I've done back in the day. And I got a whopping 23 downloads. Okay, the gold rush was already finished before I started. However, we are not here to talk about horrible Android apps that I have done. Hopefully you did something better. But how we can implement better apps, mobile apps using AI. I would like to start with a bit of context and history, how we arrived here. So because it looks like, for example, ChatGPT always been with us, but it's not like that. It's a kind of a recent invention. And so particularly I wanted to discuss the history of the tools that help to develop using AI. And the first one that used some kind of auto-suggestion was a product called Tab9, that in 2019, I don't know if anyone knows, was using GPT-2 to create auto-suggestion. So basically you started to write the code, and then it was suggesting the next line to write. It was seminal, and probably was not ready. I remember that I read something like that and never tried. I think it was, again, a fork of VS Code specialized in JavaScript. Who use JavaScript? And no one with sane mind will use it. So I forget about it. The second famous one was in 2021, GitHub released the beta of GitHub Copilot without suggestion, with a lot of controversy because they said that they were using a model trained using all the public repo on GitHub, and so kind of breaching the license and so on and so forth. However, I downloaded it, I tried. It was a kind of very seminal. You need to use a comment, and then the comment will transform the function. Of course, I downloaded. I had a comment like create a function that sum A and B, and it did it. Okay, I say, okay, fine, it's a gimmick. Forget about it. Also because I was mostly working as a native mobile developer, and so I wanted to use VS Code. Then I also had a side project using Unity. Unity uses C# to develop. And so after a few months, I wanted to add some feature on these apps. And I used VS Code again. And I've forgotten that I was installed the plugin. And then I realized that I was writing code, and magically, the code was appearing there. And then I wasn't fluent in C#, but I saw, okay, this is magic. And my development was so fast compared to what it was before. So when in 2022 the beta stopped, the beta was free, and GitHub made the payment, okay. No way. I paid my $100 because it was giving me a lot of speed of development. And then until now, we are kind of confined to our world of developers. And in November, probably you remember, there was ChatGPT version 1 that basically everyone started to use. It was provided some code, but the code that the generator was kind of not great. Sometimes it was working, most of the time it was hallucinating, but it was a starting point. But things changed fastly. In early 2023, GPT-4 was released, and then the code started to work quite well. And there are a couple of tools arrived, Windsurf, Cursor, notably, that were integrating the auto-suggestion and the chat together. Next step, mid-2024, so 1 year ago, the first agent were introduced, Cursor introduced Compose, and Windsurf introduced Cascade. And this was still in VS Code world. Going in the topic of the evening is Android. In early 2025, there are a few extension to Android Studio, IntelliJ JetBrains or IntelliJ Studio. So for example, there is a plugin of Windsurf that integrates with IntelliJ. There's Juni, is the agent capability of JetBrains, and the Firebender, that's specialized in Android. I have a few colleagues that really have some kind of affiliation with Firebender because every day they're saying, okay, Firebender is the best tool ever. And finally, last week, I was preparing the presentation, and then all the company released the agent in the cloud, all in the same week. With weird coincidences. So there was the Codex from OpenAI, GitHub Agents, Jules from Google, and a Cursor released the background agents. So how do we interact with this AI assistance? So, sorry, wrong button. So we have 4 modes. We are kind of already touched to this this modality in the history of the assistant. The first one is the obvious, that it kind of not used anymore. Well, not used, it's not so cool anymore. So auto-suggestion is a sort of autocomplete on steroids. So you have to write the code and then magically it appears. The tools are way better than they were 3 years ago, but still they are not perfect. In this case, the role of the developer is to check what the IDE is suggesting. And personally, also I find other people saying the same thing, is that sometimes it becomes kind of more annoying than other, because maybe we want to write something and the IDEs create a lot of code that then you need to tweak it to change it. However, this was the first way. The second, that was basically after ChatGPT, is the chat assistant. If you remember, there was the first integration in Cursor, if you use this. So you can talk with your code. And so basically the IDE was a sort of pair programmer, well, or expert that helping you to see, oh, you're using this and that, and so on and so forth. They have a broader context. They are suggesting solution to be applied. And the role is to make the right question, apply, and then apply the suggestion. It's kind of boring. I mean, if you in terms of IDE, you are suggesting something, why I have to do it as a developer? You can do it, and then I can settle no. So this is a kind of concept of the agent. However, it was also useful, like it was sort of super technological rubber duck, so you can talk to your code, and then they will help you also to understand better to the code. It also is useful if you are using or looking at code base is not yours, so it can help you to navigate and understand the different part. And then now the next step are the IDE agents. So this is the next step. So where we are now, where is it important? So it's the evolution of the chat. So you write what you want to do. The agent, the chat has the context, suggests and start to do what is supposed to do. In this case, the role of the developer is to check, but setting what exactly you want to do. So you need to be able to communicate. Is a sort again of rubber ducking, so you can help you to really understand what you want to achieve. It's not just writing a line of code, but what do you want to achieve in the app. And then we need to take in account what the code that is suggested is done. Final step, what was released last week, basically, the autonomous agents, which is a version on steroids. So exactly the same thing, but instead of running in your IDE, you run in the cloud somehow. So this is an example of the GitHub agents. So we assign an issue to the agent starts to do their magic, and they return with a PR, with the comments, you comment the comments, and in the end you have an open PR that you can check and comment and approve or change. The cool stuff about this is that you can spin a considerable amount of these agents in parallel, and then they work in their own, and then in the end you can have this. I think that we are at the very beginning of this. Is not they work, but it's not very reliable. But you can use it for doing some kind of trivial or simple task. These are the four modality of using this kind of technology. Another important concept that is kind of getting a lot of traction is the model context protocol that is defined as the USB-C of AI application. Again, something really relatively new, but it's becoming really important. So a LLM model lives in a glass box. So technically, there is no interaction between a LLM model, so AI model, with the rest of the world. It's something that has been created, trained, and then you send a message, it so create a navigation inside the model and return with the response. But there is no way of integrating with external service. A classic integration is integration with the web, or with the internet, and ChatGPT and Claude and other IDE created this custom integration. So basically giving the possibility that if the model doesn't have enough information to reply to your question or to your comment, it go to fetch communication or information outside. The problem is that all of these clients create a custom integration, and if you wanted to create integration with other services, for example, we have the example GitHub, Slack, Play Store, a device, a file system, it creates something like this. So Claude can do something like this. And then if you do for every possible system, you have creating this spider web. This, of course, is not maintainable. If, for example, GitHub will change the API, they will break the integration with every other LLM client. So what is the solution? The solution is Model Context Protocol, which is a simple and AI-friendly API that was proposed by Anthropic for cloud integration in November 2024 that define a standard way for LLM to integrate with different service. The Model Context Protocol is then a mapper between the API of the service that is implemented, so that there is only one interface communication in the client with the Model Context Protocols that can be then added simply without having a custom integration. Quick timeline, November 2024, 6 months ago, so it's quite fast. It was released, kind of a lukewarm reception. The world really didn't understand the importance of this. I really didn't understand why it was important. But then early 25, Windsurf, a cursor, started to integrate it, and then a lot of services started to be available. And then finally in March and April, OpenAI, GitHub, and Google said that they are integrating their product, meaning that they're creating that they become the de facto protocol for LLM integration. And nowadays we have these two websites are websites where the MCP servers are listed. There was the one with 4,500, another one with 13,000 servers. It's a lot. How does it work? So basically, MCP servers export 3 endpoints, and then as an interface using JSON RPC. The 3 endpoints are tools, resources, and prompts. So tools are action that an LLM can do on this MCP service. So, for example, send an SMS or take a screenshot or get the weather, update the record. Resources are data that are exposed from the service to LLM, files, wiki page, API response, and finally prompts that are kind of template, can be then interpolate from the client. To be honest, not many MCP service exposed prompts, so the important are tools and resources. Life cycle is the life cycle. So when LLM client starts, it connects or starts the MCP service that are configured to talk to, and they do a sort of discovery. So basically I'm saying, they're saying, oh, give me the tools that you are providing, give me the resource that you have, and they're put in the memory. So that in the future, so if during the session, the user asks some information, like take a screenshot, they know which MCP server they can use, or integrate with Confluence or so on and so forth. And for our work of mobile developers, one interesting MCP service called Mobile MCP from Mobile Next, found yesterday, that allows to communicate LLM to a device. It can be a simulator, emulator, or real device, iOS, Android. The main case are, for example, automation for testing data entries, scripted flows, automating multi-step journeys, general purpose. So think that whatever you can do with a device manually can be done by LLM. So you can say something like, open the app, YouTube, and go in this page, run the video, download the transcript, and use this script to do something else. Something specific for Android is DroidMind is kind of similar, but is a kind of more low level, more dedicated to the development, so that you can manage the device, you can analyze system, you can control app, you can install APK, something similar. For the discovery, one of the problem is the discovery MCP, because you don't know how to find them. I found the two directories. One is called Pulse MCP, where are listed, so are vetted and listed working MCP server. So you can go there, search for, I don't know, Google Play Store, if you want to do it, or Confluence. Another one, which is called mcp.so, which is kind of similar. I thought that was interesting to have it here listed. The future is bright. I would say it is de facto a standard for interacting with external service. It's actually very maintained. The protocol, even though is proposed by Anthropic, is developed as an open source. So there is a committee that check the proposal, and then of course anyone can open it. So it's not an Anthropic protocol, but it's an open source protocol. Okay, after that, how all this stuff work. So now this is the history. So let's see an example of how we can create something using this assistant. This will be the time of a live demo. Of course, I don't want to risk the demo gods to go against me, so I have some kind of video and explanation. However, this is my normal workflow when I use this kind of tools. Of course, I use Firebender because it's at the moment it's the best for Android Studio. And also a tiny bit of Cursor, because I have a license of Cursor, so that I don't have the license for Firebender. It was free until 2 weeks ago, and now it's a limited number of messages. So then I upload some work to Cursor. What we want to build. So this is an actual real problem. When I started to do mobile development 15 years ago. I was freelancer, and one of the products I was tasked to implement was exactly this: split the bill up. So it was an entrepreneur that he wanted to have MVP to propose to funding, to have some fund. And so the idea was, the problem to solve is you are a group of friends in a lunch or a dinner, and you want to split the bill, not in equal part, but say, okay, you are getting this and getting this, and then preparing the division. Back in the day, it took us at least 2 or more, 3 weeks to implement the full app. Of course, we need to talk with the commitment, and then also I wasn't good as I'm now. Well, actually now I'm mostly doing Jira tickets, so so it took us at least 3 weeks. So I wanted to see how long I could take to implement this app in Android. How do I start? So when I do this type of experiment, I always start with a preparatory phase, and I go, instead of starting to run my IDE at the beginning, I go to a LLM, of course, in this case ChatGPT, with one of the thinking model, in this case O3. I have this prompt that I use to help me to define what are the steps. So I found this in a blog post at the end of the talk. There is a link on this. So the important thing is that is a conversation, and the LLM should ask me a question to help together to create a project, a plan to define all the features I wanted to implement. So this is an example of the conversation you see, it's just proposing alternative, and then I say yes or no. And this is what, in the end, I come up with after 5 minutes, a nice project plan for what I wanted to implement. Sometimes I use this religiously. So you see there is milestone 0, milestone 1, so on and so forth. I use it as a prompt. Sometimes I go more vibing. It depends for the moment. Next step, what I do, I create some kind of, again, using LLM. If I don't have it, some kind of rules that I wanted my code to follow. It should be this is for 5 vendors, or some kind of information regarding the code that I wanted to be produced. Cool. Now the preparation is almost finished. Next step is I created the setup. Well, LLM, the Firebender of Cursor, will be of course able to create the setup from scratch, but I will waste token and messages, so I start with a normal Android Studio setup. And then the template is not using Jetpack Compose. I need then, okay, in this case I need to ask the LLM to convert it. I can do it manually, but I won't bother. And this, so basically this is the flow. I won't bother because this is what all the step that the agent has done. And also checking the migration and explaining what we have to do after, asking me if I have to do it, and then it creates a lot of code, to be honest. Deleting file, and adding, and then this is interesting, that it ran the test by itself. Or I say, oh, it's failed. And, because you need to do this and that. Okay, fine, we'll do it. And build failed again, root cause. And at the end, he said something like, build successful. Okay, fine, this is done. But this was the easy part, to be honest. So ideally, you should have this already created so that if I will do Android apps prototype, I will create my template once and then reuse it instead of doing this change. So the first feature that I wanted to implement is you have your receipt, your bill, you want to take a picture and then decode what is inside the receipt. The receipt. So this is the prompt I put in Firebase. So add the material design floating point and choose a camera and or the camera roll. And this was done, and this is a lot of code. So is added the permission, diode chooser. And then I saw, oh, maybe is the migration is not complete. And you see, the internal reasoning is the LLM that is talking to himself, say, oh, what did it mean? What did it? And then, at the end, it worked. I think that now this is what created. So I go to split beer, double button, and boom, it works. You see, the image is selected. Cool. Now let's connect to AI. So to use the image recognition, I used the OpenAI GPT-4o Mini because it's good enough for this. It's super cheap. And this is the prompt that I crafted using OpenAI ChatGPT. So this is the format of the response that I wanted to have, so which is basically the list of the items in the receipt and the service and the cost of each of them. And to do this, that's something that we should never do, but I've done it for the sake of the demo. So creating a direct connection between the app and the OpenAI endpoint. You should never do because it is sharing of the key, a secret key, so it's not secure. So the way to do it is to implement a service somewhere and then expose a secure endpoint. However, for the sake of the demo, we use this. And this is what it did. I put this and implementation detail, also explaining everything we wanted to do. It created a mock service for testing because in my rules, custom rules, I said I want to also to have this tested. After a while, I said, okay, I don't want to hard code the code. I want to use .env, local .env in GitHub. It created, change Gradle, something that I could never do. I did it. But then, oh my goodness. This is the moment that I started to cry because I needed to, it didn't work. So thing is, OpenAI O3 that I used to create a plan and Firebender, or either hallucinated API or they were cut before a change on the API, so it was not working. So I had to go into the actual documentation and change my by hand, but in the end, this is what I got. Add the receipt, select, boom. It's a kind of magic, to be honest. Thank you. Of course, not always was working, and then I wanted to improve the prompt. Because how does it work? So you send it to the image decoder, the image, but also what do you want to have. So to explain how UK receipt can be done, I had also this rule to be more precise. What I noticed at this point is sometimes it doesn't work, or better, it kind of be confused. So I say, okay, let's accept this and give the user the possibility of adding the receipt. And then instead of using the prompt, I suggest using, could you please add the option? Use the please because you always need nice to AI. And this was implemented, kind of working. It was working enough. And so I implemented the edit part. At this point, I happened something that was kind of common, that basically the chat, the agent I was talking to, started to act a bit weird. So creating a duplicated file, changing function where you should not be changed. And so the problem is that the context window was full, meaning that there is a quantity of the context that a chat with a LLM can contain. And when it's full, it starts to act weird. I found on Reddit this trick that is called the Big Daddy trick. Basically, that if you put as a first rule, the customer rule, the fact that you must be called the Big Daddy, when it talks to you, it calls you Big Daddy, but as soon it doesn't call you Big Daddy, it means the context window is full, because it started to forget this. And so this is the moment that you need to create a new chat. Unfortunately, create a new chat, you're losing all the context. And so you need to start again. But there's another trick. In create a new chat, it was now the moment that I need to remove my cowboy hat, because until now I didn't have any unit test, no test at all. So I prompted this to create a unit test and struct the view model. Also, it put almost everything in the main activity. So I said, okay, create something better. And it created all these 21 tests, which is kind of too bad. And to my surprise, you also create this document inside the repo with the explanation of the previous architecture, why it was wrong, the problem, and the key benefits to create a new one. It was a kind of interesting. And I think this is an example of what's it called the memory bank methodology that I'll explain later. But it was a good point. However, I won't bother you with the rest of my video, because now you know the drill. So the instruction, you do go some instruction, then you go to do something else, because while the agent were doing stuff. And then you come back to check if what was expected, change it, and or accept it, and then rinse and repeat, extract, until you have what you're expecting to have. And this is what I implemented in one afternoon. So you select the receipt, you have the result, you can, all the results are there, you split the bill, you add the participants, 3 participants, because Geo, team, and bill, and then you assign. You can assign something direct, you can split equally or not equally, and in the end, as soon all of those are done, assignment complete, you have a summary with the list of each one, how much they have spent, and you say, okay, it's paying this, it's paying, team is paying, so that the Geo needs to pay this amount and bill. So now the next step will be connecting to a payment device, a payment system, or if you only had a credit card app to connect this, would be super cool. I put this on GitHub if you wanted to have a look. Also appreciate the README created by AI. Each commit message, there is the prompt I use if you want to have a look. So I promised a couple of tips and tricks, something that I found useful in my experimentation with AI assistant code. This one is the memory bank that I mentioned, is a way of maintaining context between sessions. I feel that I'm describing this now, but in 3 months' time will be obsolete because it will be integrated by a model or a ID, because it's kind of obvious. So here the idea is create some custom rules that make the LLM to create some documentation regarding the project. So in this case, we have the project brief, which is the foundation, to collect all the documents. The product context, so the business user, so what is this app, what is this project, the system partners, the technical architecture, you can use Mermaid to create all the connection between all the modules, the tech context, so tech stack basically, and then there's the active context, so because you started from one state to another to add the feature, and this is the list, so it basically is your plan, and progress is the progress tracks and tracking. This is a kind of flowchart. It's basically saying that to the AI that the first time you need to create this memory bank, and then if it's already been created, if you're making a substantial change, you need to update the documentation. This means that when you are switching to another chat session, the agent will read the status and kind of understand where you left before. This should reduce the fact that we are losing the context. These are the custom rules. Of course, I should not check it. There will be a link at the end. This is interesting, the last sentence. After every memory reset, I begin completely fresh. I begin is the AI talking to himself. The memory bank is my only link to previous work. It must be maintained with precision, clarity, and my effectiveness depends entirely on its accuracy. Well, if this is too complicated, of course, there is an MCP for that. Found this that you can use this MCP to have the same mechanism. Speaking of MCP, we were talking about the mobile MCP, and I try to see. So basically, this is saying something like open the split lab and play with it, and it works like that. So this is the communication between the IDE and the MCP tool. What it does, so it's listing the elements and then clicking and doing some operation on that. It workish. It was not great. I think this is Firebender. I registered this on Monday. Well, I tried this on Monday, and it didn't work on Firebender, so I registered on Cursor. On Tuesday, Firebender released a version that was working, so I really don't know. So probably today there is another version that is even better. So forgive me if I'm not up to date as today at 8:30. Another cool one is I found out. So we said that the LLM has training cut a particular date. So for example, if they use a particular version of Android when it was trained, they know that version, but if the new version, they doesn't know. There's this server that contains all the latest version for each library, so that an LLM can fetch the latest version for the library that they have to use. For the final part, something regarding the terminology. I know that maybe is not so important, but I think for me it's important, because the way we are defining the thing is the way that we are then discussing the thing, and then we can have a better understanding. If you are following a bit AI, maybe you heard this term called vibe coding, that it means something like ask the AI to do code, don't check, accept, and in the end, it will be a fantastic app. Kind of be controversial, because people were starting discussing, some follower of the hype say, okay, with vibe coding, we don't need developers anymore. We can just have a a project manager, project owner, do this, and fire all the engineers. And then engineers said, oh, you don't have any idea what doing a real code is. If you look at the definition of vibe coding, this was by the original inventor of the term. It was Andrej Karpathy, founder one of the founder of OpenAI. Now he's doing communication explorer, whatever. So in February he said something, I found this new way of doing code called vibe coding, where I set all, where I don't rate the diffs anymore. It's not too bad for throwaway weekend projects, but it's quite amusing and it's not real coding. The thing is that this started to be already book. And the thing is that they are not some hype surfer, because Gene Keen is the writer of the Phoenix project. The Accelerate is someone very big into the DevOps and creating software scale. Adi Osmani is the director of Chrome developer experience. So, to be honest, I checked yesterday. Is vibe coding future programming of that Adi Osmani is now called beyond vibe coding. So I understand why they want to do this. This is because they want to catch the attention and Twitter, but still, I don't think the vibe coding is the right term for what we want to do, which is using AI for doing real production code. Ken Beck, that is inventor of extreme programming, TDD, JUnit, and then with whom I share the same hairstyle, using the term augmented coding, which is kind of better. What I really like that I saw somewhere is accelerated development, AI accelerated development, because Steve Jobs famously said that computers are bicycle for the mind. So it's the mind so it's a tool to help the human and the creativity of the human to go faster. And I feel that AI, all the AI tools are a motorcycle for the mind. So you can go very, very, very fast but you need to know how to drive them, because it can reach you very fast in to your destination, but also can create a disaster, can create a problem in production. A classic one that most of our code found it is security problem, because LLM is not very keen to add protection, just they wanted to do it. And the other problem is it creates a lot of code that you started to lose understanding, and can be a problem. And so thank you very much, and if you use coding, drive safely.